have a transmission related fault or transmission related problem. The first thing you want to do as an individual, especially if you don't own a diagnostic tool, like a scan tool that can actually run diagnosis on the electricals of the transmission and then tell you the areas that are actually faulty. When you don't have that, there is also the basic diagnostics you can do. Most of the problem, I repeat, most of the problem, even up to like 80% of the problem you would have with the transmission usually comes from the transmission fluid. It's the truth. Most of the problems you would have with the transmission would usually come as a result of the transmission fluid. Maybe you did not maintain it very well, you did not change it when due and all that.
Or you used the wrong
Or you use the wrong type of fluid. Exactly. So those are some of the problems you can have. Those are some of the reasons why you have a problem with your transmission. Now, since 80% of the problem usually will come from the fluid, which means when you have a transmission-related problem, a transmission-related problem most times would develop like, maybe you put it in D, and then you start observing lately that when you put the vehicle in D, what you get is a very strong jerk from the need to take is to check the transmission fluid color, level, texture, and smell. And most vehicles would actually come with a dipstick that allows you to do this. So the minute you get into the car and then you put it into D, and then there is this jerk that has not always been there. You get it the first time, you get it the second time, third time, that's a bell that the transmission is beginning to have a problem. That's an indication that the transmission is beginning to have a problem. First thing you want to do is come outside to check the fluid level, the color and the texture and smell. One easy way to do this is get a white tissue paper, take a sample of the transmission fluid, put it on the white tissue paper. It's going to show you just everything I just mentioned, apart from the level. Now when you pull out the dipstick, you would see maybe an estimated amount of fluid you have in there, not really the correct level, because to check the correct level, you have to make sure the vehicle is running, and then the transmission shifter has gone through all the positions from P all the way to maybe 1. That's if your vehicle has it up to 1, to the last position, and then you bring it back to neutral, and you use your emergency brake to hold the vehicle down, and then you go to the engine area, pull out the dipstick, check the level. If the level at that point is not up to the maximum mark on the dipstick, that means the transmission fluid level is low. If it is up to the maximum mark, next thing you want to do is get a tissue paper, pull out the dipstick. You would have a sample of the fluid on the dipstick, rub it on the tissue paper. Right there you would see if maybe you have dirt inside, or if it has turned black. If it is blackish, that's a sign that the transmission is beginning to burn internally. That's why the fluid will be blackish. What you're supposed to have there is, I think some of them will be actually brownish, a little bit brown, but then it's supposed to be red when it's new. Over time, it moves from red to a little bit brown, but once you see that blackish sign there, that's a sign that the transmission is actually burning itself internally, and that's a sign the transmission is on its way out. And this might be as a result of improper service culture or abnormal service culture that you adopted over time that just ruined the transmission. So that's the first step you can take as the owner of the vehicle. Next step would be to drive it down to your technician to run a scan, a diagnostic scan. Like every other modern systems you have in automobiles, the transmission system also has its electrics. If the electrics go bad, there will be a fault code that will be registered, so they can read the memory of the computer, get out the fault code. Based on the fault code, they can run diagnostics to know what item to change to get the transmission back in order.